When I was a young lawyer looking to make a difference, Dr. Jones was the ultimate inspiration. He was an attorney, a writer, an activist. He did it all. During the Civil Rights Movement, when those who were threatened by Dr. King tried to tarnish his reputation, it was Dr. Jones who joined a team of distinguished attorneys to fight back. When Dr. King was thrown in a jail cell in Birmingham, it was Dr. Jones who helped secure the money for his release. And as Dr. King prepared for the March on Washington, it was Dr. Jones who helped pen one of the most iconic speeches in history. Scripture tells us, as each has received a gift, use it to serve one another. Again and again, Dr. Jones used his extraordinary gifts to serve others, and in the process, helped bend the arc of history towards justice and freedom.
Thank you for having me. God willing, 2.5 months, I'll be 92 years of age. More powerful than the march of mighty armies is an idea whose time has come. Anybody can walk with you in the warm sunlight of an August summer, but only a wintertime soldier walks with you at midnight in the alpine chill of winter. Violence lies like molten lava beneath the streets of our cities and just waiting to erupt. Love may not conquer everything, but love as an alternative to violence is a very beautiful thing. I am so honored to be here to participate in this Impact Award that bears my name. I remember like yesterday Barry Scheck, Johnny Cochran, Robert Kardashian, and a brother whose name I can't remember was black professor at Harvard Law School, and they were talking about the Innocence Project. The Innocence Project is what they say in Martin's world, is God's work. And you have to appreciate the magnitude of the Innocence Project, because when I was actively practicing law, I have been inside Leavenworth and Angola and many of your major correctional institutions. Of course, you know, they made a movie about Attica, which I was in, and so forth, so I know a little bit about prisons. So as I said, and I won't say it, I'll just send it here, I am so honored, deeply honored. And just as an aside, by the way, you know, in March, the University of North Carolina is going to be publishing my memoirs. Memoirs are called The Last of the Lions. Hold on. And it's based on an African proverb. And that proverb says, if the surviving lions don't tell their stories, the hunters will get all the credit. You hear me? So I'm a little moved and touched that here I am, some of the policy makers. I hope that as you follow the news about my hardcover book coming out, you will remember, because you want to know the real story, I was there. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, I know, I'm credited. I mean, I don't say that, it's just a fact, with the first 7.5 paragraphs of the I Have a Dream speech. But meanwhile, it's not about me. It's about this award that doesn't bear my name. And so I want to thank you and thank ComNet for inviting me to participate in this part of their program. Thank you so much.
All right. No.
Now, you heard the professorial side of me, and I've been around a little bit. And what ComNet and what some of these subjects you're dealing with are fantastic. And they reflect my state of mind, which don't fuck with me.
Ready? You want to go first?
I'm okay. Thanks.
And I think it's time, I'm going to do this from the side of the stage, to invite our judges onto the stage to present the award. If you'll wait there 1 quick second, sir. Jill, Lita, Jose.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jill Schwartz. I am a very proud member of the Communications Network Board of Directors. And I always love this moment in the conference when Dr. Jones speaks. Dr. Jones, you are such an inspiration to all of us. You motivate us to be strategic communicators, not just communicators. And you inspire us to remember the end game when we're doing everything we do in the world, whether it is in our personal lives or in the work world. Everyone in this room is a strategic communicator, but there are some who are extraordinary. They are game changers in terms of the impact they are having on the world and the fact that they're making the world a better place. They help prove that communications can have an impact and that that impact can be measurable. We honor them with the Clarence B. Jones Impact Award, which is given every year to an individual, a team, or an organization. And the past winners, some of you may have seen them at other conferences, are the Truth Initiative, United We Dream, A Step Ahead Chattanooga, and the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. I was one of the judges for this year's award, and let me tell you, it was not an easy assignment. All of the nominees are amazing. They've done incredible work in raising awareness, changing people's behaviors, and inspiring actions. The others who served on the committee with me are Jose Munoz from United We Dream and Lida Venegas from Mary Center. And you had a chance to see the other judges' names and faces pop up earlier today. I'm now going to have Jose take the stage and tell us about the award winner.
Thanks so much, Jill. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jose Munoz. I'm super excited to be here representing United We Dream and our over 1 million members who make up undocumented young people, children of immigrants, and allies. As the recipients of last year's Clarence B. Jones Impact Award, it's thrilling to be able to be here, to have been able to participate on the judging panel, and to be able to introduce this year's winners. As communicators, we all have a unique opportunity to shape the way that people perceive the world. The stories that we work to place in the media, the social media campaigns that we lead, and the speeches that we help to write can be powerful. They can force into the light some of the darkest injustices that we face as a nation. And for 30 years, the work of the Innocence Project has done just this. They've worked to restore the freedoms of a staggering number of people who have been wrongfully convicted, while shedding light on the systems that allow these injustices to occur in the first place. In 2020, the Innocence Project mounted a powerful campaign to stay and ultimately overturn the conviction of Pervis Payne, a black man with an intellectual disability in Shelby County, Tennessee. Using the power of storytelling, they focused on presenting a full picture of Mr. Payne, telling his very compelling story, including shining a light on the racism prevalent in the legal system, which contributed to his conviction in the first place. The Innocence Project was able to mobilize millions of people to sign petitions, call legislators, they held events, they worked with influencers to post on social media platforms like TikTok. Their multi-strategy campaign went on for over a year, and ultimately it ended in Pervis Payne being taken off death row. Their successful campaign is a powerful reminder of the real-world impact that we all get to have with our work. Their work is proof that when we challenge, call out, and organize around correcting racial injustices, not only can we win, but we can make a real-world impact and change people's lives. And so, please join me in welcoming and congratulating this year's Clarence B. Jones Impact Award winners, the Innocence Project. And from the Innocence Project, we have Alicia Mall, their Director of Digital Engagement, and we also have Rolanda Holman, who is Pervis Payne's sister.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, oh my God.
We're so honored. Thank you so much, Dr. Jones. You're a legend. I don't think as a mixed-race child I'd be on the stage if it wasn't for you and the work of Dr. King. And now, Rolanda, we're going to show you how we work together to get Pervis Payne, her dear brother and our client, off death row.
All right. Thank you, Alicia. I'm so honored to be here today. And as she said, I am Rolanda Holman. I am Pervis's youngest sister. And I tell you, you guys look amazing out there. So let me tell you a little bit. Over the next few minutes, Alicia and I are going to take you on a journey of Pervis's life. And I believe by the end of today, you will understand why they are receiving the Dr. Clarence B. Jones Award. You can see here, this is my brother Pervis. I'm sorry, let me go back one. There we go. Here is Pervis, okay? June 27th, 1987, in Millington, Tennessee, as they said in Shelby County in the Deep South, just right up the street from the state line of Mississippi. Pervis was going to visit his girlfriend, and he realized she wasn't home, and right across from the apartment there, he heard some faint cries of a baby. And so Pervis saw the door was also open, so he went in and he said, I'm coming in. And when he walked in, he saw the most horrific thing that he's ever seen before in his life. There was a Caucasian mother and her 2 children who had been brutally stabbed. There was blood that was plastered all over the floor. So Pervis walked in and he had blood on his shoes, and he knelt down to tell the mother, he said, I am going to get help. So he had blood on his knee. Pervis reached to the phone to call 911, and then he heard the sirens. And when he heard the sirens, he said, oh, the police are here. So he went to the step to meet them, to tell them something about, this crime has just happened. So when he got to the step, the police was coming up, and he said, hey, these people up here need help. He said, somebody have hurt them. And the police stood at the bottom, and he said, what are you doing with that blood on your clothes, boy? Pervis was like, whoa, boy. And he realized that this is not going to turn out in my favor. So needless to say, and sadly to say, that the mother and one of her children did pass away. And Pervis was convicted of that crime and sentenced to death. And 35 years later is history. But today we're going to share with you how the internet stopped an innocent man's execution. So you look at this picture here, it's a mugshot, how they dehumanized him. Pervis had no history of criminalization, nothing they could find on him. Why? Because this is not Pervis's character. I look at this picture, and there are many things that come to mind. One good thing, but I tell you something that comes to mind is that I remember him saying that I wish you all would know that I am not the one who hurt these people, but I was the one who was trying to help them. Now, the good thing that I like about this is the Jerry curl. Come on. In the 1980s, the Jerry curl. We have Rick James and Michael Jackson. We used to dance to their music. And the Jerry curl gives me life, and it reminds me of how much of a good time that we had back in the day. They tell me a couple of things. They say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Some people say a picture is worth 1,000,000 words. But to me, I cannot find the words to describe what this picture means to me. Because it was my family. This is when we were all together. Reminds me of, beautiful times that we had as a family of Christmas and Thanksgivings and those celebrations that we had. It saddens me because my mother and my sister are no longer with us today. So I'm that little girl who is, you can barely see, that's trying to smile. My sister is the one that's doing this, that's saying, please hurry up and take this picture. And of course, that is my brother, but I'm going to tell you all, not speaking of the Jerry curl, but you got to give it up for my mother with the Diana Ross Supreme wig. Come on, let's give it up for my mother, okay? A woman who was daring, and it was like, I like big hair, I like Diana Ross, so I'm going to wear my big wig, okay? And of course, that is my father. Now, I love this, and it reminds me of so much. Sometimes people look at that mugshot of my brother, and they wonder, was my father available? Was he there? Were they raised in a poor home or so forth and so on? Well, my father was always present with us. He never left us. He was always raising us and in the home with us. Now, whether we were rich or not, to me, whenever I wanted Fruit Loops, I got Fruit Loops and not fruit rings or fruit rounds. So to me, we were doing pretty good, okay? I thought we were doing pretty good as a family. In this picture here, you see me on the right-hand side, the little girl. I was around 1 or 2 years old. I could never call him brother, so I would call him Bubba. And to this day, 48 years old, I still call him Bubba. As you see, my father was a minister. He's a minister, and he pastored a church for 37 years and just recently retired this year. And so Pervis was one who always was helpful. He would pick up the parishioners when he was able to drive and take them to and fro from church. And the behavior that Pervis had outside of prison was that of never being in any trouble. As a matter of fact, when he got in this trouble, they were trying to find a record of him, and they could not find one. And that good record of his behavior followed him all the way through prison. And of 35 years, he has not had one disciplinary action on his record. It was so amazing to the court until they had to get the warden, the disciplinarian warden, last December to come and to show to confirm that he really hasn't had any disciplinary action on his record in 35 years. And so that tells me that the same character that he had before prison is the same character that he carried after prison. This picture of me was me today, advocating for my brother, because this is what I do. I'm his number one supporter. And it was an interview that I actually had with the Tennessean. And the Tennessean is a newspaper that covers about 39 counties in the state of Tennessee. So in September of 2019, the Attorney General in Tennessee submitted 9 names to the Tennessee Supreme Court for those inmates to receive a death date. Now, previously, that wasn't a major concern to me because in 2 decades, Tennessee had not executed anyone. So at this moment, I knew that in the early part of 2019, Tennessee started to execute inmates. And I said, if they set my brother a date, they are definitely going to carry out with his execution. There was a fire that lit inside my soul. And I said, not on my watch, that this is not going to happen. So what did I do? Thank you. I said, not on my watch. And so I began to reach out to social media, and I began to let them know what was going on. And I began to, gather my people. And lo and behold, I came up with my 5 ride or dies. These are people right here that I said, listen, guys, I said, I need your help. I said, if it gets ugly, if it gets nasty, are you there with me? And they said, yes, we are there with you. So I'll start off in the top right-hand corner. That is attorney April Frazier Kamara. She was actually a childhood friend of mine. And she grew up with us. And when she was a little girl, she told my father, she said, Pastor Payne, when I grow up, I am going to be a lawyer and I am going to help Pervis get out of prison. And lo and behold, she has done that to this day. She has given us all that she knows and still helping us. In the middle, I have my protester. On the far right, that's Dr. Brooks. I have my marcher. And those on the two beautiful ladies on the bottom, they are my resource people. They are the ones that I connected to make sure that we start to do a major campaign as it relates to Pervis. These are my ride or dies. Now, whenever you have a rider, somebody has to drive, right? You don't get in a car, you're like, where are we going? You have to have someone who knows where they're going. And I am honored to say this is our lawyer, Attorney Kelly Henry, who has been a fierce leader and lawyer. Yes, you can give it up for her. Thank you. Because if it wasn't for her driving this campaign, driving the law, I don't know where we would be today. A lot of people say, Rolanda, I think you're the driver. I said, no, I am the voice of Pervis. I am the face of Pervis. But she is the one that has been able to tell us when to turn, and how to get there. My dad has a statement. He said, is going, can't tell, been there, how to get there. Now, I can't say that again because of lack of time. So, this lady, Cece Jones Davis, she had led a campaign, a death row campaign for Julius Jones. She already knew how to get there, so all I had to do was reach out to her so she can help me lead the way for Pervis. This is just my marcher here, Dr. Andre Brooks. And we led this march in Memphis. I Am a Man march. And then we have here some other boots on the ground. You see the protest down here. Now with my protester, he started protesting in Memphis. That is Dr. Andre Johnson. He started protesting in Memphis, and he did it every Wednesday for 1 year. The boots on the ground that we did from starting from that one man grew us into thousands and thousands and thousands of supporters. So that was a good thing. After we began to do all of that, and I mean, guys, we were moving. I could smell the meat cooking. Right? They said good meat makes its what? Own gravy. Somebody knows it. Good meat makes its own gravy. And so it was cooking by that time. And I tell you, I could smell the meat brewing from the East Coast to the West Coast. And I thought to myself, I said, I have taken this as far as I can, but there needs to be another catapulting somewhere. And I'm so grateful that we were able to build a dream team through the Innocence Project when they joined us. On the far right-hand side, you will see attorney Vanessa Potkin, and that's Kelly Henry, myself, Cece Jones-Davis, and Alicia. At this point, Alicia said, well, we're going to take on and we're going to do the media. And she was able to almost like take the little 2 fish and the 5 loaves of bread and multiply it into what you see today. So because of her multiplication and her expertise, this is why we are honoring the work and the leadership that she has done. So today, I present to you and introduce to you Alicia Mall, who is the Digital Engagement Director of the Innocence Project. Alicia.
Thank you, Rolanda. What a great teammate. Who wouldn't want to work with Rolanda? Who wouldn't want to be a part of her team? All right. So Alicia Mall here. For 7 years, my goal at the Innocence Project, we know from Dr. Jones that we've been in the game for 30 years. We are the best at getting people out of prison using DNA to reform the system. I wanted to make sure that people like Pervis had the best digital team behind them. That has been my goal. As it relates to this campaign, it was the summer of July 2020, the height of the pandemic. We were afraid. COVID was going on. People were out of work. It was a scary time. I get a call from Vanessa Potkin, our lead attorney, who has helped exonerate over 30 people from prison. And she says, Alicia, we have a case. We need the help of the digital team. We had 5 months, the clock was ticking, to stop Governor Lee from carrying out the execution of Pervis, or Bubba, Rolanda's brother, on December 3rd, 2020. It's okay, we got this. We were ready for this. We've been building for this. My team's ready to make this happen. Do you all know what makes your audience tick? Do you guys know what gets your audience to click? Who knows? I knew that the death penalty, when an innocent person was facing an execution, our community would rise up, drop everything they're doing, and take action. Do you treat your community like an extension of your team? As digital organizers, I think of the audience and the community as a part of my team. We cannot pass laws without you making calls to your lawmakers. We can't keep the organization going if you don't donate once and twice. And we can't stop the execution of Pervis Payne without millions of people stopping 1 minute a day to read, share, and call on his behalf. So we do treat our community like an extension of our team. And so this is an extension of our team. Do you have your toolbox ready to go? What are the tools that you need that when you're called to action to jump on a campaign that you're ready to go? We had it. We had the systems in place. We had email ready to go. We had social media, the web, and then the game changer here is mobile. Mobile is a game changer. If you are giving me your number and you're signing up to help free Pervis Payne, that is a high bar. You're highly engaged. We had everything ready to go. Now, the most important lesson here for me, what keeps me grounded every day, do you center people and your clients over everything else, people over profits, okay? And our person, I couldn't be more honored to represent Pervis Payne. This is Pervis in December of 2021, the first time he was able to wear a suit in court. with his attorney, Kelly Henry. The first time, these are the images that we get to select and give our clients the due justice they needed after 34 years of being disrespected by the legal system. Team is everything to me. Of course, I'm working with Kelly Henry and Vanessa Potkin and Laura Burstein, who is the premier comms expert. Every death penalty case you see, her team is working day in and day out. And then it's me and my team, the digital team. All right? We are the jetpack on top of Pervis, on top of Rolanda, on top of the communications efforts and the litigation efforts. We are the jetpack taking the audience and bringing millions in for Pervis. All right, so you guys want to know the inside scoop. What were we doing? Okay, day one, internal strategy deck and roadmap. Let's get the team on the same page on our goals, our objectives, our hashtags. This is a campaign. It's hashtag Pervis Payne. We purchased pervispayne.org immediately. So in the news bites, when Kelly's on TV or when Rolanda's on TV, you want to learn more? pervispayne.org. That is the campaign hub. We identified who are the key influencers in Tennessee, the basketball teams, the NFL teams, the country music stars, the black community, which was such a big part of where Rolanda and her family came from, the religious community. All of these are the people who would carry us to a victory for Pervis. We're in the state of Tennessee. Our beautiful target is Governor Bill Lee. As you all know, in the 20 states that still allow the death penalty, when a date of a client is set, only the governor can stop the execution. So Bill Lee had to get a few phone calls from the Pervis Payne team. And then we have our audience. Again, we're in Tennessee, and he wants to hear from Rolanda and the community members of Tennessee, not from New Yorkers like me. So we got to build up the audience in the state. Here are the communications tools we used. Calendar, not just for the key dates for Pervis's legal case. What are the big moments in history coming up? How do we keep Pervis's name relevant to the news in the world? Our email systems. So I don't have to email automatically Rolanda or Kelly or Vanessa. Create an email listserv. Boom, for everything Pervis Payne. Daily news. Laura's team would send us all the news related to Pervis every day so we can monitor what were the stories we wanted to share, perhaps what were the stories we didn't want to share. Slack channel. The digital team is organized on Slack. We opened up a Pervis Payne channel for all things related to Pervis Payne so we wouldn't miss a beat. Weekly meetings. Of course, we had other campaigns, but with 5 months to go, Pervis was a priority and we were meeting all the time and staying on top of it. And then the last thing is text threads, right? You're in the middle of production, email's overwhelming. If you want to reach me, call me, text me. So I'm getting breaking news from inside the courtroom instead of waiting for an email from the attorneys to be the first to break the news. I'm also a DJ, so I'm sending Rolanda and the team, great mixes to keep the energy going. She's telling me what's going on in Memphis. I'm telling her what's going on in New York. We kept it personal. The toolbox, budget, very important. So I could tell my colleague Steve to say, this is how much money we have to spend on ads for Pervis. We went through the internal strategy doc and roadmap. You know about the internal communications tools. The Pervis Payne hub, pervispayne.org is everything. That's all you need to know. If you forget your name, you know to go to pervispayne.org. That's where the information is. Marketing plan. We are building a brand for Pervis that can be worn and sung on the streets. And then reporting systems. I wouldn't be on this stage, I wouldn't be talking about anything if I didn't know that the death penalty was an issue that our audience cared about because I'm looking at the analytics, so setting up all analytics related to Pervis Payne. Now, the great honor here is to be able to show the wonderful Pervis to the world, the Bubba that Rolanda knows, not the mugshot below. That doesn't do him justice. We want people to know, love, and fight for him given the injustice he faced in his case. So as our job at the Innocence Project to tell his story in the most compassionate way possible. So we researched in 2020 when he got the assignment, there was one low traction blog post about his case. Let me tell you, this is great because this means that everything we talk about is going to come from us and not from some shoddy news outlet. So this is Google Trends, and here you can look up. This chart shows the traction for Pervis Payne's name, so you can see how everything spiked up after that. PervisPayne.org. Let me give you a tip here. The best thing you can do is hire a brilliant writer. I hired a brilliant writer, Danielle Selby, and she knows how to break down these complicated legal cases into, consumable little bullets that anyone can just apply on any platform. So PervisPayne.org broke down his case. Pervis Payne is a black man living with an intellectual disability, facing an execution for a crime he didn't commit, and then the case for what went wrong in his legal case that makes it obvious that we shouldn't carry out the execution. The PervisPayne.org hub also had his petition page where you can get involved. This was anything you need to know. This was the campaign hub that would get the world to stand behind him. Simplifying the message. This is an example of an Instagram post that then we broke down every point. Now let's grow the team. The petition page, even before we had the 8 facts, the quickest thing we can do is get you to sign up to support his campaign before it was too late. And we're growing the team in Tennessee. This is the petition page that grows the audience and grows his team. Now, I want to win on Google. Do you all know how to win on Google? Yes, no? We're winning on Google, and we're winning on Google by what it means is that when you Google Pervis Payne, I want the Innocence Project to be #1 so that we are the source of his narrative, and so people prioritize the content that we have crafted with the support of the lawyers, the comms team, and Rolanda. A couple ways to do this. Being first, publish long, and use Google ad grants. Google gives nonprofits $10,000 of free money every month to make sure your content is prioritized. Take advantage of that. We had additional ad spend for Google Ads. Very important that we win on Google. Keep the ads flowing. We used ads on Instagram and Facebook to precisely target Tennesseans so we could grow the Tennessee list. Keep that going. And the beauty here is that calendar, it was July, told us that it was Emmett Till's birthday. So Danny came up with this post to use his historical landmark and story to say, Emmett Till was decades ago. You don't know Emmett Till, but you should know about Pervis. You know Emmett Till, but you don't know about Pervis. And Pervis is facing the same things Emmett Till is facing. All right, so we're taking a big American moment and we're connecting it to Pervis. This really got his story on the map within the first month that we launched the campaign. And then we're building a brand. The previous death penalty campaign I worked on for Rodney Reed, his family had carefully made these beautifully handmade T-shirts. And I said, okay, Pervis, we're gonna make some T-shirts that anyone can purchase so that when you're on the streets at the Wednesday I Am a Man March, you can wear it. When you're in the news for Pervis, you can wear it. It's a conversation piece. It has the hub. We're growing his brand. And the best thing about this is the funds for the T-shirts went to Rolanda and her family. Not only is it emotionally wearing to have a loved one in prison, but there's obviously economic constraints, so all the funds went directly to her family. Center the family and voices impacted. We heard it yesterday with Stephanie Land. We must center the people impacted by systemic racism and violence, okay? So I had the great pleasure of being able to amplify the work that Rolanda was already doing for 35 years. It's all about her. Now I'm gonna share an example of how we created personal video from Rolanda and her dad about Pervis to get our audience connected to Pervis.
You know how it is when you got your first child. First child is very, very important. Pervis, he was born premature. And we had great plans for him because he was the oldest one. And we thought for a while they're gonna be the only child that we had.
My brother Pervis Payne is scheduled to die this year, December the 3rd, for a crime he did not commit. DNA testing could prove his innocence. My brother is living with an intellectual disability, and it is unconstitutional to execute a person with an intellectual disability. I call him Bubba. I tell Bubba, I said, Bubba, you were convicted as soon as they saw you because of the color of your skin. I will continue for the rest of my life, as long as it takes, to fight for my brother's freedom. And it's not too late to save his life.
All right, we have less than 5 months to go. We got to create urgency. So my text messengers, the people who gave us the number, we were able to text and say, call the governor, take an action. It's the text message. You know why? Because over 98% of people who get a message from the Innocence Project may open it, compared to 20% for email and social media, 2 to 5%. Start building your SMS lists if you haven't already. It's going to be the game changer. As editors and writers, it might seem repetitive to be producing the same thing over and over again, but we must repeat the message. Pervis Payne faces execution on this date. Take action before it's too late. Over and over again. Every time you produce something on a social channel or an email, someone may be seeing it for the first time. So it might seem repetitive to you, but it's how you get the campaign message out there over and over again. Make it easy to share the content. As soon as you sign up to Pervis's petition page, you get an option to share it, copy and paste it to your Twitter, and boom, no work. It goes to your audience and it amplifies his message. Make it easy. We're in November of 2020. We have 28 days to stop Governor Lee from carrying out Pervis's execution on December 3rd. Time is ticking. On this day in November, we got the good news that Pervis was granted a reprieve until April 9th because of COVID. But his life was still in jeopardy. And we had to, some of the pressure, was offset, but we were not done. So it's December of 2020. William Barr and former President Trump had reinstituted the death penalty on the federal level, and they were executing people every week. We're looking at the news, and we see that Brandon Bernard, a black man from Texas, was going to get executed for a crime he did not physically commit, but he was with the group that did, the Law of Parties. So they were going to execute him for something some people thought was an innocence case. Millions of people tweeting, stop the execution of Brandon Bernard. Kim Kardashian chimed in, which is a very high threshold of attention that we get every now and then. They executed Brandon Bernard. We're seeing on Twitter, Brandon Bernard's executed, but we can still save Pervis Payne. So all of the millions of people who were going behind Brandon Bernard and paying attention to the slew of executions happening on the federal death row went to our client, Bubba, our Rolando's brother Bubba, and our client Pervis. So you see that big Google trend, that Google analytics to our website was Brandon Bernard. It gave us life for this campaign. Also, as we're looking at the analytics, we see that a young lady is bringing in thousands of signups for Pervis through TikTok. And we're like, what? Had we not been paying attention, we wouldn't have seen what we're about to show you now.
Ain't no swerving in the streets. Got you nervous that I'm really lurking, murder on the beat. Been a burden, now I'm really working. 80 Tennessee. You a servant, got your bitch, you working, twerking in the sheets. Yeah, hey, get the fuck out of my way.
Okay, so if you care about Black lives at all, please stop scrolling. Not many people know, but this right here is Pervis Payne. He is on death row for a crime that he did not commit. And his last day is on December 3rd, exactly a week from today. I know most of us can't do much, but please visit pervispayne.org and inform yourself and spread awareness on this issue, because I don't want to wake up on December 3rd to find out another black man has died innocently.
In this country, they'll tell you you're innocent until proven guilty. Unless you're Pervis Payne, then you're guilty with proof of innocence. Pervis Payne is currently on death row for a crime he more than likely did not commit. And I find it disturbing that the police would even tell him, "You think you're black now? Just wait until we fry you," during his interrogation. Pervis had no priors, but they called him an animal. Said he was in a drug-fueled frenzy with no evidence, and they didn't test him. Withholding, losing, won't allow or won't test DNA evidence. Constitutionally, Pervis Payne should not even be on death row. With his proven intellectual disability, Shelby, Tennessee has a history, and if they can't have strange fruit, they'll put your ass in the chair. In 25 days, April 9th, they're going to proceed with a modern-day lynching. They're going to put him to death. All over our social media, we need to use the hashtags Pervis Payne, Justice for Pervis. Make a video bringing awareness. If you can't, share this. Duet it, stitch it. Stand with me and MLK III, calling for clemency for Pervis Payne.
Let's give it up for the TikTokers. So thank you to Google Analytics. We saw this going on. And what did they do? They took the pervispayne.org hub. They copied and pasted Danny's 8 facts. They're using the hashtag. They're inviting their users to join them. These were our cheerleaders. This is what we needed, this energy in December 2020. So next I will show you a video that shows how we connected all these incredible people giving life to the campaign. This was the first time we used Pervis's voice to connect with his supporters so that they knew that he was listening. And after 35 years of only having Rolanda and the family cheering for him, he now had millions of people standing behind him.
Hello, everybody. This is Pervis, and I'd like to thank every last one of you for your time that you have sacrificed from your family, from your loved ones, to reach out and work with me and my family, as well as my law team. And y'all have really caused me to feel hopeful. It's one of the first times in 33 years that I don't feel alone.
It was April 2021. Pervis is getting his folks engaged to keep fighting until an April 9th reprieve. Now we've identified this new community. Let's bring them in. We had a private grassroots call with inviting all the TikTokers using hashtag Pervis Payne to come meet Rolanda, to come meet Kelly, to come meet the team, to thank them, give them the strategy ahead, make sure they had the graphics and the content they needed to continue to produce videos. And that was super important, right, to thank the community. We also did public live streams where anyone can watch, ask questions, learn about the case, get engaged, and keep the momentum going. We showed up for the community. They showed up for us. We weren't on TikTok before those videos. We launched a TikTok, and the first video is the video you just saw of Pervis Payne. We got wind of some of our best organizers were out of Martha's Vineyard. In the energy around Black Lives, they latched on to Pervis's campaign and they were compelled. Martha's Vineyard had an event. We showed up for them because they had been showing up. Number one, to say thank you. Number two, because our efforts for Pervis were not over. Meanwhile, in the spring, from the beginning of the campaign, the Tennessee Black Caucus, right? We identified in the beginning that our influencers would be the Black community and lawmakers. They were pushing a bill that would make it illegal for the state of Tennessee to move forward with Pervis's execution, given that he was living with an intellectual disability. When the bill got legs in the spring, we plugged in the audience, the Tennessee audience we had been building for months, to call their lawmakers to help pass the bill. Phone to Action is the tool that makes it extremely easy for us to connect our constituents to their lawmakers through mobile means. We had 900 people make 900 phone calls in the state of Tennessee. I would say on average in any state we're about 50 So this was an incredible turnout. Bill Lee, the law was passed, and Bill Lee signed the bill preventing the execution of people like Pervis and others from being executed. A really, really major moment in the campaign, but it wasn't over because we had the DA fighting us. So with the breaking news, we continue the next step. Email DA Wyrick, and if you're not from the state of Tennessee, let's get that $1 million for Pervis. The fight continues. The clock had stopped, all right? So the urgency is over, but now is time to challenge DA Wyrick and continue to do what we can to get Pervis home. We kept the drumbeat. Rolanda and her ride or dies had planned a day of action in September. And instead of it just being them in Memphis, we had our Martha's Vineyard people. This is us in Union Square in New York. The drumbeat was growing. The movement for Pervis was now national and global. The world was watching. We had taken over the news. We had taken over social media. We had taken over TikTok. We had taken over the streets. It was the fall of 2021. A lot of the work started to be more behind the scenes. And we were, doing less public and shifting our focus to Julius Jones. On November 23rd, he was set to be executed. And we talked about C.C. Jones and how that inspired Rolanda, was set to be executed in Oklahoma at 4 p.m. Something incredible happened. An Innocence Project supported the campaign, did everything possible. With all the energy from Pervis's supporters went to help Julius. Something incredible happened. In a nail biter at 12:15 p.m., a few hours before the 4 p.m. execution, Governor Stitt grants Julius life without parole. A great relief for someone who knows how these last moments are of a person's life. At 1:44 p.m., Innocence Project's attorneys were in the court for their clients, Mr. Aziz and Mr. Islam, who were wrongly convicted for over 40 years of killing Malcolm X. After 40 years, one of the biggest cases in history, our attorneys are in there getting them the well-deserved exoneration. 4 p.m., luckily the execution was over. It didn't go through. At 4:19, I check my phone, right? It's a day of great emotion and great relief. And Laura Burstein says, we are about to get another. Please stand by. On the day that Julius Jones avoided the death penalty, on the day that 2 men were exonerated for the murder of Malcolm X, after 40 years, Pervis Payne was removed from death row. Today, he has a chance of being on stage with us, and I hope in the future he will be. And we've organized a special message from him to all of you.
Hello, this is Pervis Payne. I am very grateful for the digital work the Innocence Project created for my campaign. Because of their work, I have gained over 1 million supporters, and he is one step closer to coming home. ComNet, thank you so much for acknowledging their dedicated work towards my freedom. Congratulations, Innocence Project, for receiving the Clarence B. Jones Award. Have a blessed day.
I have no doubt that Pervis, as soon as he gets out of prison, please invite him so he can accept this award. And thank you to all of you for listening.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
did brilliant. That was awesome.
Thank you.
And that's how you win the Jones Award. I hope we get the opportunity to welcome one of you up to this stage next year.
Questions?
Oh, yeah, we're going to do questions. We absolutely should. I don't know if we have a microphone out, and if we don't...
They're in the aisles.
Oh, they're there. Okay, great. Then I'm going to get off the stage. You do your thing.
Feel free to jump in, ask a question, or you can say a hallelujah, too.
Don't be shy.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Hi.
Hi, my name is Edmi Ayala. I work with Ciencia Puerto Rico in Puerto Rico, and I'm very big on realistic hope. And I was just wondering what you guys did to just keep up the hopes for 35 years and now as a community. Yeah, thank you.
Well, you know, I have a definition that I created for hope, and I get asked that question a lot. And my definition is hope is the anticipation and the expectation that something good is going to happen. It is the assurance that it hasn't happened yet, but it will. And so I've always carried that with me. And, you know, it's kind of difficult when you see, but it was my determination that, you know, something had to happen. I don't know what really sparked in me, but when that September 2019, it was like, no, I've got to do something. This is not going to happen on my watch. And I just began, you know, I'm a person of faith, and I believe that faith without works is dead. And I put everything into what I had to get us to where we are to this point. That's me from a personal perspective of 35 years.
Great question, and I think that response is great. Over here.
Yeah, hi, my name is Amber Taylor. I wanted to know a little bit more about like when, in trying to do like the storytelling work, particularly for people who are behind the bars, it's so difficult to get those pictures, those voices, those just like those many little humanizing moments. And so I wanted to know like how you both capture that, practically speaking, but also like when you don't have, or when it's really difficult to get those. Telling like those stories, because I know also families get tired too, like of keeping the drumbeat going. So yeah, do you have any advice on?
Yeah, that's a great question. Image is everything when we're trying to move away from the mugshot, and that's all that our client has. So we couldn't get in there to take photos as much as we would have liked because of COVID. So COVID did prove to be a challenge, and that's when the relationships working closely with Rolanda and the attorneys come into play, because you just have to tell them what you need to do your job. And it's those images that we need in terms of like getting content from Pervis, like the one that him to ComNet, Rolanda speaks to him multiple times a week, and working with the attorneys. But certainly having thoughtful photojournalists who have been in prisons before, I think that is a step ahead. They know the drill. It's unpleasant. You know, you're going to get strip searched, and you have to deal with the dynamics, and someone knows who is comfortable and has experience in that environment, I think is super important.
Hi, my name's Jessica Blank. I'm a writer, director, and story trainer. I wrote the play The Exonerated, so I go way back with the Innocence Project, and it's incredible to thank you. It's incredible to see since 20 years ago what digital media makes possible in this space, and thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Can you tell us where Pervis's case is at now legally, what the action items are to actually get him exonerated and out, and what we can do to help?
Okay, so where we are now is that once we went to court on last year, it was to overturn his conviction from consecutive to concurrent. And so the district attorney at the time, Amy Wyrick, she appealed that because she felt like it should be consecutive. That's what we're fighting right now. So we're fighting to go back to court, and we'll be doing that on November the 1st. We'll be arguing in front of 3 judges to explain to them why his sentence should be concurrent. As is current right now, he has an opportunity to be on parole within 4 years. And so we're kind of we have a bigger picture, but we're playing the field right now, taking the baby steps that we need. But there are some good things that our lawyer, our driver, remember the driver, you have to have a driver who has planned behind the scenes that is really going to come into play. So that's where we are right now with his case.
That the public can do to help apply pressure in this November with that next move?
Well, with that next move, we have a new district attorney now, Steve Mulroy. Instead of maybe sending like we did with he's more supportive, but maybe we can just do a blast sending to him just to let him know that the people are still listening.
Hurry up. Conviction Integrity Unit, let's
go. Yes, and we're
asking
for that too. We're asking for that in Memphis, a new Conviction Integrity Unit. So things like that would be, definitely helpful to let him know that the community is still concerned about Pervis.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you for the question. What you can also do is pervispayne.org, add your name to the petition, so we'll give you what you need to do next. And of course, follow the Innocence Project at Innocence on Twitter and Instagram. And if you like what you heard, make sure you give us a follow and a shout out.
I have 2 questions, if you can try to take both. Number one, with the stakes so high, how do you kind of manage the weight of that with the team doing the work, especially when a man's life is on the line? Just the stress of that, I can only imagine how that weighs on a team day to day. And then the second question is, where did something go wrong in the campaign, and how did you pivot? Did you find yourself in that situation at all, and what did you do to adjust?
So in terms of the stress of the campaign, this was our second death penalty campaign. Rodney Reed was the first. So experience doing it, I think, helps because we know how we could make this campaign better. And part of it is, as a person trying to get people to do their specific jobs, I think it's really important to keep people going through good news and through positivity. And that's why we talked about sending each other music. And that was a big part of how the core team stayed engaged. But I think a lot of what I talked about was being ready and having the tools. We really were ready to take on this campaign. We had done it before. We had grown the audience. Innocence Project has the resources and the community over 30 years in the making. So it was being ready. And I do, I've worked on political campaigns, and I think there is great advantage to having done it before. So since Pervis's campaign, we worked on Melissa Lucio's campaign in Texas. She would have been the first Latina executed. And it was a bilingual campaign. I mean, Pervis Base went to go help Melissa. So with every campaign, it's not even about the individual anymore. It's about creating a framework for justice for the next person. So actually the energy is quite helpful, but I don't know, stress is hard, and you gotta have good relationships with your team, take good care of your health, and know that for a few months they come, your client is the focus. Mm-hmm. And mistakes or challenges, COVID was a challenge, and everything else is a little too sensitive because it's legal stuff. Question over here.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm JD Schramm. I'm in private practice in the Bay Area, but I also teach at USC's Annenberg School of Communication. I cannot wait to take this back and teach to my students. This is a remarkable case study. What I'm still unclear about, until the very end when you brought up the piece with the DA, what was your opposition, especially early on? Were there family members of those who were murdered by someone else? Who was against you in this process of getting this as far along as you have?
Well, I'll speak to that. Number one was the Memphis community. When you have a history of a prosecutor who has the highest level of prosecutorial misconduct, and you're trying to present that and trying to illustrate that, you had a lot of people in Memphis who were just not hearing it. Memphis doesn't have a good reputation when it comes down to justice. And so when I was meeting certain people, they were telling me, I don't want to touch Memphis. Nobody wanted to touch Memphis. Gotcha. So that was the main challenge that I had. I'm like, somebody's got to touch Memphis. Who's going to be bold enough to be able to do it? And I really think that, those were some of the oppositions that we had. And I just kept meeting people periodically over the course, of my life. And I just kept on, and I just never gave up. And then I started having a few more people who were connecting me with others and say, you try this and try that. And I did that. And I do think that in the wake of George Floyd, that is really what was a turning point to everyone. Because the challenge was trying to let people in the community see that this is not a television show. That these are conditions that happen not only with Pervis, but throughout our country. And so I believe that when George Floyd happened, it was like, we just kind of said, Pervis, an innocent man on death row, and then we started to see like a light bulb came on. So it was a benefit to us. And unfortunately, he lost his life, but that was a wake up in the culture and the mindset of people that begin to look at these types of things as it relates to racial disparities, injustice in a different perspective. So that's what I would say was the hesitancy. And then, by that time, I got my ride or dies and what they're about to do to Pervis. By that time, we didn't care what Memphis said. We went down there and we made some noise. Our campaign was like, let's roar, wasn't it? Let's roar. And I said, let's roar. And we went down there, yes, and we made some noise. And so it was the boldness and that step forward that I had to say, if I didn't do something at this moment, even though Memphis was like, tensed up and what have you, I had people when I would walk in to court and there were security guards, and they would say, we're watching, we see. But they couldn't say that in front of everyone. But we're watching and we see. We've been following this for a long time. I'm so glad he's finally getting some help. They knew about it, but they knew they had to be hushed about it. You can be hushed, but I can make some noise. So that's how. I hope I answered your question.
Hi, my name is Meredith Bird. I work at Democracy Fund in Digital Communications. Thank you for sharing your story and your strategy. My question is, now that the Innocence Project has a TikTok channel, can you say a little bit about how engagement with TikTok fits into the strategy of current or future campaigns?
Yeah, great question. Number one, so everything, the core of the Innocence Project from a comms perspective is education and engagement. So we've continued to use it to educate, but also entertainment a bit. So like just the little stories of our clients. Like for instance, one of our clients missed Christmas, but then came home after Christmas, and then his family had a recreated Christmas in like the spring. And how do you put words on that? You'll have to watch it so you get the full effect, but they recreated Christmas for him. So a lot of the, the first meals after prison, a lot of the more personal moments we can create on TikTok, and by we, I mean Danny, not me, but it was big in the Melissa Lucio campaign as well, because we knew with TikTok, they have about 30 million active users a day. And billions of users. And if your video goes viral within 5 minutes, you'll know there's some formula to it. So it was big for Melissa Lucio. We had people making content for her in Spanish and English. And if you look at the analytics, a TikTok video that takes a few minutes with some thought to make versus a highly produced 2-minute video gets a lot more views. So it is a big part of global reach for us, and it's been a big focus. 7 seconds.
Along the same lines on the TikTok, as communicators, we spend a lot of time meticulously crafting messages, and we want a lot of control of the message. What's interesting about this is it got to the point where it was beyond you, where the public took over the messaging in some ways, which I think is kind of a terrifying prospect, but seems like a very important part of your success. So how important was it when the story got bigger than you and your efforts? And my other question is, can you share your playlist with us?
At Biggie Malls on SoundCloud. So Pervis literally is a saint. Like I heard 17 people testify on his behalf that work in prison with him, and he's literally an extraordinary person. And I think I told you about that blog post. There was nothing really. Certainly the narrative might have been personal for Rolanda, the stigma of having a brother, but largely we had the great fortune to set precedent for who was Pervis Payne and what his narrative of. That's not always the case, but for this, it made PR control much more manageable than when you have very outspoken opposition. In this case, it was the DA who fought us in every move. So I think in that regard, we got lucky, but that's just why you have to monitor, because if you do have opposition, they could build a following on TikTok and get the news to catch wind, and the news is reaching out to them. There is a lot of that. For this, I don't think that we had any major crises, but I do think to the fundamentals of monitoring the community on all channels. What are the conversations people are saying, so you can bring up concerns to the attorneys. Certainly, you're going to get, with a case of a murder of two people, there's still going to be some things that slip through. But if you dominate, if you win on Google, if you win on social, you can be the dominant narrative.
Mm-hmm. And I like to add, I know our time is gone, but as you see those TikTokers, they presented information that they got from pervispayne.org, the hub. So the information was consistent, and then it was up to Alicia and her smart wits and her team to say, we can use this, we can use that to push it out through the text messaging and through the emails. So I think that was a nice trigger point too, is that you all were able to monitor what was coming in and say, this is good information that relates to what we're already putting out there. I think that was beneficial.
And that goes with like the death penalty campaigns. You want one place that's kind of like lawyer approved, because if you have different people being the official spokespeople for our client, that's going to get sticky. So we are very careful to kind of put our foot in first among the folks doing anti-death penalty work, so that exactly your question, there's not multiple conversations flying around. And attorneys are prioritized. So I support the attorneys, and hopefully that people follow what they have to say. Mm-hmm. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.